Hey guys, this is Joe,
And I'm Jeremy.
and this is Boys of Summer number 6, where we watched Insidious Part 3, or Chapter 3.
Prequel. Yeah.
Yes.
Not a straight sequel.
Yes, as misleading as the title is. Um, I don't know, what were your just coming out of it? How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about this movie? It's tough because I wish they would just continued from 2 and went straight to 3. Really don't see make sense for a prequel.
Right.
But it was enjoyable at times. It was kind of scary. I feel like it kind of more focused on the scare than the story this time.
Yeah.
I really liked the main demon in it. I thought they made a good demon. I thought it was a good story there.
Yeah.
Acting was a little iffy. I feel like the old woman story from the first 2 were it was added in. It didn't really flow naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of was. We had the family story, then the old woman story that still connected to the first 2 to make sense. But overall, I would say it's a decent movie. Yeah. But as a horror movie, it's just another typical standard horror movie that nothing really about it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that it was just a disservice to do a prequel when you end on a cliffhanger in the previous entry. I just feel like you're just blue balling the audience in a way to I feel like you're tempting fate to make people not care, especially if this was like a disastrous movie, to make people not even care about whatever good scare or whatever you had. I do agree that the old woman storyline was a little superfluous. Like, we didn't really need her to have to find her courage to become a medium.
It was unnecessary. I wish it could just been she was already in the business.
Yeah.
She already had her courage and she was just trying to help out.
Yeah.
I felt like that would have been good enough.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little tacked on. I mean, it did lead to one of what I felt were the 2 best scares in the movie, or best scenes. The scene with the old woman where she tries to talk to the Breathless Man, was the name of the evil entity, or that's what they called him.
Yeah. Talking about the very end of the movie?
No, the scene where she tries to talk to it and it takes the key off her neck to her reading room.
Oh, that was
and it
really
leads
good.
her down the stairs.
That was scary. That was a good scare moment.
Yeah. The other good one being the ghost rape scene.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah,
it was creepy and it had all the elements you needed.
Yeah, because it kind of sets up a really traditional scare where the main character, which don't even ask me her name, legs broken, and she's bedridden, and the Breathless Man takes her out of her, throws her out of the bed and leaves her at the foot of her bed. She's looking under, and
he goes and closes the window.
Well, what I was saying was that there's a very traditional scare there of her looking under the bed, and everyone's thinking he's going to pop under the bed for a jump scare, scary face.
Yeah. Okay.
But instead, it's a very slow, deliberate, really unsettling thing where he's slowly eliminating all the light out of her room by closing her blinds, closing her door, and then eventually shutting her laptop. And I just felt like that was such an interesting and kind of creative way of going. A ghost doesn't need to do those things, so
no.
The fact that it does those things and it's just so malicious in its intent. I don't know. I just felt like that was a really good characterization of the antagonist, and just a really well done scene. Other than that, not much. I mean, this movie, it went for some camp. It went, especially towards the end, in the 3rd act.
Oh yeah,
the
really stomping and everything else.
The weird Vin Diesel stomp and
oh my goodness,
Fast and Furious 7. The old woman beckoning the ghost and telling her
it went kind of action-y more than horror.
Yeah, it took a very strange turn.
She never did that in the previous 2 films.
Yeah, I feel like it just it just took a strange turn. It's going a weird direction. I mean, it's James Wan, and he's always he flirts with genre a little bit.
I don't know if how involved he was in this one though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did see his name in the credits.
If he's a producer, he could be nothing. I mean, producer now these days, some of them actually are part of it. Mm-hmm. Then other them, you just get your name thrown up there just as a credit. Really, I mean,
but I just felt like it definitely it played with the genre of horror. I mean, we had like a really weird audience too, kind of your typical horror audience nowadays, especially for PG-13 horror, which is pretty much all horror now.
Yeah, very rarely get R.
You know, a lot of girls that are screaming at everything, even things that aren't scream worthy. But I mean, I guess that kind of adds some energy to it. I mean, it gets annoying a little bit. It gets a little tiresome, but
yeah,
I know the movie though. I mean, it was okay. I just feel like it added nothing to the story. There was no stakes. You didn't know, like, you knew the old woman wasn't going to die, so anytime she was in danger, you could breathe a sigh of relief. The family was basically boring and generic. I mean, it was kind of fun to see what those two guys that are with the old lady were like before, the spectral sightings guys. But other than that, we could have done without it. Chapter 3 could have just been the next chapter. So I felt that compared to the other two, like, this was probably the weakest entry. I mean, it was as we said, like, it played with the horror genre a lot. It wasn't just straight up horror like the other two, or at least the first one tried to be. The story, you know, it wasn't really fleshed out. We have no idea what the Breathless Man was like before anything. At least we got like a little bit of insight of what the demon was in the first one, and then the lady in the second one that haunts the husband. And this, like, it was just like, it's just a bad guy. We don't know why he's a bad guy.
We knew the one line said he used to live in the building.
Yeah, but that
was about it.
Yeah, there was no like real background. It just kind of banked on the fact of like, oh, you've seen the first two, right? I mean, of course you did. You're watching chapter 3, so we don't really need to like set stuff up. It kind of explained like where she gets some of her terminology, like why she calls it the further and stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I felt like it was kind of uninspired. Like it wasn't original enough compared to at least the first one. I mean, and even the first one wasn't like all that, but at least it had some like kind of like things we hadn't seen before in a horror movie, or at least we hadn't seen it in a long time. It wasn't your generic like slasher killer, and it wasn't really your generic like ghost story either.
Yeah.
It was in this weird like nebulous spot. I don't know. Like, I just feel though like it really has no place in the storyline. It didn't help accentuate anything we already knew. We already knew that the lady in the veil was going to choke the woman to death in the first movie, you know? So we didn't need all this, like, it followed me from... And plus, it doesn't make any sense. It haunted the boy that Patrick Wilson plays.
Yeah, it did.
When he was a boy, so how the hell did it come out and follow her when she tried to talk to her dead husband a year ago? That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand like why they threw that in. I mean, I guess because she like banished it, so maybe it like came back. Like it was like, oh, you ruined my plans.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it just didn't. It was okay movie from the start, but the first two were obviously much better. Second was a straight sequel to the next one. Yeah. They closed the chapter of that family. It had good scares. 1 and 2 both did. It was kind of unique in a new way. I enjoyed them. Yeah. This one, just like you said, wasn't necessary. Felt like you should have just went straight to chapter 3 after setting it up. Yeah. Could have done something new. You couldn't introduce the same family you had. I mean, you had the opportunity, but I don't think it was necessary at all. Yeah. And this movie, chapter 3 had a lot of useless characters in it. Yeah. Like, the brother was useless.
Disappeared for much of it.
The next door neighbor with the guy that she loved, that was useless. The best friend that she had hit the car, useless character. I just felt like there was just characters she could cut from this movie that did not need to be in there. The old lady and her husband, that was useful. Everybody, there was a lot of characters that you just in there for... Just to kind of like hit beats or something?
To hit like the archetypical, like these are the characters when you're dealing with a teenager in a horror movie.
It just...
Best friend, crush, younger brother, younger sibling.
It was just not necessary. You cut them all out or make them more part of the story, but it was dead weight for sure.
Yeah, now, I mean, the second one was definitely a departure from the first one, because then you had, like, weird instances of time travel in that
was, but it was at least a continuation of the story.
Yeah, at least it added something to the mythos a little bit that was established. This one is basically standalone. Like, if you named it something, if it wasn't just, like, Insidious, if it was just something like Malicious or something like that, and you had the exact same plot, and you just changed like the old woman to just a different old lady, and the two guys to just two different old guys, it'd be virtually the exact same movie. Like it has no real connective tissue except for like the really like
it's the old woman story is the connecting tissue.
Yeah, and it's like very contrived. Like it's very forced. Like how they try to connect it to.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to go to the third movie, and when you set it up, why make a prequel?
Yeah,
that just still to me. Do not understand that.
Yeah, I mean, and it was cool. I mean, it was cool, like, what they decided to do. Like I said, like, the ghost, like, the actual kind of antagonistic entity was really well done. Even there, I felt like there was weird things. Like, they didn't, like, stick to some things about him and everything. But, I don't know. I just feel like prequel was not asked for, or at least do a prequel after the third movie. They probably only did this prequel now because they knew that if you closed out the storyline that was established in the first two, no one would care about a prequel. I think that's the only reason they stuck it in now it was a money grab. It was just kind of a blatant money grab.
You made this movie for about $10 million. Yeah. Probably marketing, you probably spent mostly another $10 million, and you've already made your money back. Yeah. It's just a way to grab money, but yeah, I think it's just.
Yeah, definitely weakest of the three.
Most definitely. I personally think the franchise needs to go and do a real Chapter 3. Yeah. And follow the new Ghost, because I was curious about that. Now, what I worry is, now after you close the first two movies, is the franchise going to become like all the other typical horror movies? Millions of sequels, and they all suck. Yeah. I don't know, but you definitely need to explore what she saw that was so scary. Yeah. And make it big, and maybe you could continue this franchise, but they don't need to do any more prequels. Venture off anywhere else. They just need to follow what they set up in 2. Yeah. And that needs to be the true third movie.
See, that's what I'm afraid of, because there's clearly, like, this was a few years before the Lambert, I think the name of the family.
I think you're right.
The Lambert haunting.
This will show up here too.
And in Insidious 1. And I'm just afraid that since they gave themselves a pocket of a few years, they're going to try to squeeze one more. It's like going to go like how Fast and Furious did, where its timeline is just so weird.
Oh my gosh, they finally, like a 6th movie, finally caught up to Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, like this, like crazy. 3 happened before or after 4, 5, and 6, and 7. Or it happened, it coincided with 7. I mean, I'm afraid, like, now that you've introduced, like, a prequel at a weird point in the movie, they're going to try to capitalize on that to draw it out even more, and I just feel like, or like how Saw did, where, like, its timeline's all over the place.
Saw was good in the beginning, just like Insidious is, but I'm afraid it's going to be the same thing again. It's just going to become crap, and you're going to make 8 movies, and you're just in it for the money, and then eventually people are going to be like, this finally sucks, stops making money, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, we got all the money out of it, let's move to the next thing.
Yeah. So, I just think that, you know, it needs to finish the storyline it initially started, and then they need to take a break a little bit and really assess, do we need to even go
any further? But studios like this, small budget horror movies, they more likely go until it becomes complete crap, and then people stop seeing it, and because it's pretty much not a big loss for you, because you're going to make something back at least, so they'll do it until then, and then they're like, oh, time to go, move to the next one.
It's just a shame, because I feel like it's already lost steam. Like, I felt like I didn't think that Insidious Chapter 2 was necessary, really. I mean, it's like you could have just left the first movie off as like kind of like a scary cliffhanger and then done nothing else, and people would have been fine. They decided to go Chapter 2 and then leave that off at a cliffhanger, and by that point, I'm already 2 movies deep. I really kind of want to see like where you're going.
I know, they set it up. I wanted to see it too.
And then when I heard about this movie, when I first saw the trailer pop up on YouTube, I was like, oh man, like now we get to know, and hopefully they go bigger than ever. And then they take like technically 3 steps back, and it's just like, and I feel like the steam is already like, and the energy is just already gone a lot from
prequels are already hard to do, and especially with horror.
They're statistically like the worst performing in a franchise,
especially horror. I mean, to me, horror prequels are just useless, because they just, unless it's a completely something different that's loosely attached to your story. You know it's not scary no more, because you know characters.
Yeah, if there's a character from the original movie that's in the prequel, the stakes are gone. Yeah. Because they're fine, clearly.
And that old woman, you knew she wasn't going to die.
Yeah. So, you know, future of the franchise, one more movie, one last ride, and then...
Sounds like Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and then they're done. But I know that it's going to be another one of those things. It's going to be like the Paranormal Activities, where they're going to pump one out every 1 to 2 years until they're just straight to DVD releases.
That's what Paranormal Activity almost is now.
Yeah,
if it's
that's technically the fifth one. Did not even register.
It was like a Mexican
theaters.
release.
Yeah. And then was released like for free, basically. I don't even know. It probably spent like a day in Redbox before it was on Netflix. I mean, so yeah. I mean, I'm just afraid that the franchise is going to kind of falter, and for like a movie where the first one had so much hype behind it, like the critics were saying scariest movie since The Exorcist and all this stuff, and I mean that was a bunch of bullshit. I mean, let's be honest, but it was like, it kind of was energizing, and it kind of did some different things, and just for like a series that had that much momentum going in from the start to already be 3 movies in and just like dragging itself across the finish line here, if the finish line is indeed in sight, I just feel like it's a shame. I don't know. I always have my fingers crossed that a horror movie franchise is going to be good. Like, it's going to be like something to actually make me scared. And I thought that if anything, like with all the hype this one had, this was going to be the one. And I just
move on to the next one.
Let's hope Sinister 2 does it.
Good luck.
Okay, so I would have to score this It's tough. I have to say, this is going to be like a qualifying. A Rent in general. Like, short answer, Rent. Long answer, if like it's a pretty decent date movie. So I would say worth like a matinee, like on a Sunday, like how we technically watched it, and and then have like the rest of your day ahead of you. Get like a nice like early dinner or something like that afterward. Otherwise, like if you don't care, like if you absolutely, well, if you haven't watched the other two, definitely skip it. And probably if you weren't interested enough to watch the first two, just skip them all.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in seeing a prequel and you'll just rather wait for Insidious 4, like how we kind of feel, skip it. But if you want to see some kind of creepy new things out of a horror movie, like I said, the 2 scenes that we mentioned, which were like some of the best done scenes probably of all the movies, it wasn't enough to bolster the whole thing. I would say rent it when it comes out, watch it like late, like Thursday night or something like that.
Yeah.
And you won't be worse off for watching it. Otherwise, just leave it alone.
Yeah, my score is going to be Rent. I don't know. I'm like you. You can see it matinee. You can skip it. It's kind of a loose rental.
It's a very like circumstantial movie. Yeah. Like it really depends on where you're coming from. It. Most of them, it's kind of across the board. You know what to do. This one, it's just like it's like the movie itself. It's like the biggest metaphor of this movie itself. It's like we don't really even know where to place it in the grand scheme of things, and that's why I don't even know how to score it, because it's just it's just
a rental.
There.
I mean, I think at true heart, it's a rental.
Yeah.
If you've seen the other two, if you've not seen the other two, don't even bother. And if you didn't care for the other two, don't bother. And just like you said, if you don't like prequels, skip it also. But if you've seen the other two and you're interested, rent it. Yeah. Save your money. Rent from Redbox when it comes out for $1.50 or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are we watching next week?
Next week is Jurassic World. I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping this can be a return to full price again.
Yeah.
We haven't had a full price since Avengers. So I'm hoping that Jurassic World comes back and we have another full price and we can be hyped and talk a lot about it. But next week will be Jurassic World. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Joe.
And thank you for watching Boys of Summer. We'll see you next week.